On this episode of Real Wins, I welcome authentic creative director Melody Sorenson to discuss the behind-the-scenes look about what actually goes into a successful brand experience. If you find this or other episodes helpful, please like and subscribe on YouTube or your preferred podcast listening app. All right, Melody, thanks for joining me today on another episode of Real Wins. Glad to have you as a special guest.
Yeah, I'm glad that you wanted to chat with me about this.
Yeah, this is an exciting topic. We don't have the normal sidekick here in the show. Mike is sailing across the ocean at the moment. And so we have the next best thing, which is our creative director at Authentic. And I'm really excited to dive into some of this with you here. But before we really set the stage for today's topic, I want to kind of throw a little off the cuff question to you and get your take on the best upcoming seasonal recipe for either Thanksgiving or Christmas, because I know you're a big chef aficionado over there. What do you think?
Ooh, okay. Well, I feel like sweet potatoes is always something that people have a lot of around this time. And I love taking the leftover sweet potato innards and turning it into sweet potato gnocchi and making a delicious white cheddar creamy sauce with it, throwing in some chorizo, some kale. It's so good. It's so hearty, and it has all my favorite flavors in it. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to cooking pretty soon.
You know, aside from the word innards, I'm very into that. Sounds really good. So if anyone wants that recipe, they can reach out to Melody and she'll send it over.
And it comes with a double recipe too, because it starts out with a chipotle chicken chorizo sweet potato boat, which is where the innards come from. Okay.
All right. If you want chorizo and sweet potatoes and boats for your holidays, we know where to turn. All right. So let's jump in. This is it's an exciting episode because I feel like, Mike and I, we sort of talk about and around creative all of the time on Real Wins episodes. But what I'm excited to dig into on this episode with you here is really understanding, like, how do we build a successful brand experience? How do we build that premier, high-end, kind of deluxe brand for multifamily or condos or for sale product in general? I know you have a lot to bring to the table in this discussion, but before we dive in, please give us a little bit of a background on your past experience. I know that you have both hospitality and real estate experience. So talk to us about that and how that maybe has impacted your worldview so far.
Yeah. So how branding and, fine arts have kind of always lived together. I started my career out actually as a printmaker, teaching screen printing. So I've always just kind of loved the aspect of educating people about how art and design can just elevate their lives. And then I went into becoming a brand designer, very heavily focused in the hospitality and real estate, food and beverage world, which is also where my love for cooking comes in. And I absolutely love it. I've spent a lot of time working with developers and hoteliers and really focusing on lifestyle as branding, not necessarily thinking of branding simply as a visual system, but more so how a brand can actually impact and very much so motivate the lives of the people who interact with it. And that's really why I love branding. And I really truly believe that it is one of the best aspects of design in the sense that it very much so impacts the lives of, the people who interact with it.
That's a great segue into my first question. And that's really like, what difference does a great brand really make in these projects? And I would love to talk about this from the perspective of both the owner or developer, but also from the perspective of the renter or the prospect that's coming through, touring maybe multiple buildings at once. I like the word lifestyle. I think we try to talk about that more and more, building a lifestyle rather than just, like a pretty set of pictures. But you tell us in your words, what difference does that really make or impact on a property?
Yeah, so I feel like oftentimes when that question is asked, a lot of people are just thinking of the brand as you just mentioned, kind of just as a logo and the colors and, possibly even just the typography. However, I think of this, and I know that Authentic also thinks of it this way too, but a brand very much so is a fully developed reflection of more so your target audience or your target persona's lifestyle, and then therefore their aspirational sense of self. As I had just noted before, I truly believe that a successful brand is really more so, that idea of that reflection of a person. Every sort of motivation behind a purchase of a product, big or small, you're always thinking about how that product is going to somehow impact your life. But more importantly, how that product is actually going to, again, like reflect who you are, and almost more so in like that aspirational sense. And I think when it comes to branding, when we think about it from either that hospitality standpoint or this residential standpoint, that is really the most important version of branding, because what is a more direct reflection of who you are than your home? Not only the outside of your home, but also the walls of your home. You want it to really feel like it is you, and it isn't just simply, a pretty logo, really great color palette. You can have all of that, but your brand can still feel empty if, again, it doesn't feel like it's a reflection on who you want to become, or who you already really comfortable are being as yourself.
That is, and I know we'll get to this, but that really sparked a question for me around this idea of, building a brand or sort of buying a logo versus building a lifestyle and a brand experience for a property. And I would say one of the number one questions we get asked is, well, who cares? Why does it matter? And I think what you're saying is that the lifestyle of the renter really needs to align with the sort of brand experience that you're developing for that lifestyle at the property level. So those two can sort of intermingle and connect with one another. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Design is a very competitive market. I think any designer or creator that you work with will definitely agree that it's extremely competitive. There are so many talented designers out there. There are so many talented studios and agencies out there. However, what really makes a brand special is how those creatives can also collaborate with the marketing side of it. And I know that's something that Authentic does really well, is we have this great collaboration process that not only takes into account those very beautiful visuals that make a brand just so, again, visually tasty that you just want to, look at it. But there's that market side that really digs into, once again, those motivations of those individuals. And I think that truly is what makes that brand successful, is that holistic look of the position from the market. And then also, the picture itself of the brand that often has to follow a narrative of either, again, the lifestyle of those individuals or the narrative of the property itself.
Yeah, that I think that aligns really well with what we talk a lot about on Real Wins is there needs to be obviously a game plan and a strategy, but being able to have touch points along the way that signal that brand essence and the lifestyle that you're building and the experience that one can expect at the property is critically important. Thanks for listening to this episode of Transforming Cities, brought to you by Authentic, delivering premier multifamily brand experiences and smart digital marketing. Authentic's proven approach accelerates leasing velocity, boosts rental rates, and increases long-term value. You can find out more at AuthenticFF.com. And by Charlesgate, the multifamily investor's secret weapon to help underwrite, go to market, and operate projects that generate market-beating returns. With an adaptive staffing model and on-demand leasing teams, Charlesgate empowers a better resident experience at an efficient cost structure for today's owners. Visit charlesgate.com for more. And that really segues into this big research assignment that you've been doing this year. One of the things that we pride ourselves on at Authentic is, hey, it's one thing to talk about it and to preach about it. It's another thing to do it, get out there, do research ourselves and sort of experience boots on the ground. And one of the things that you've been involved with over the last many months is essentially a research project. What do other properties and developers do to find success in building those brand experiences and that lifestyle around the brand? Without doing too big of a setup here, let's just kind of dive into some of that research and the findings that you have uncovered across a variety of multifamily properties. So feel free to take that in any way that you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, well, first off, you really need a strong story to persuade and motivate people, just straight up and period. And without having that, you're just not going to have any motivation or really sense of soul behind your brand. And so what we found in all of this research, from, again, that residential perspective, but then also from that hospitality perspective, is the brand really lives holistically throughout the space. You have those first impressions through those touch points that might happen through communication presentation. Branding can come across through messaging, not just through visuals. So, training your property managers or your general managers with, messages that are aligned with that voice and tone of the brand, which again is usually established during that market positioning phase. And then you have that really amazing first impression that is, quite literally walking through the doors. There's so many great opportunities to how you could activate that entry space. And then walking through the lobby, you see the visual brand living through there, whether it's through color palettes that have been established in collaboration with the interior designers. We see a lot of times in a lot of new residential properties that take inspiration from hospitality brands is these really beautiful brand-centric walls that either share motivational messages, they integrate local artists in some sort of way that once again all align with that brand story that all point back to those lifestyle motivations of those target personas or those hero residences. Branding is really the biggest motivator, just period, in sales, because once again, it's not about that product. It's about who you believe you become when you buy it. And you really get that just through that messaging, through those first impressions. And, residential living, it's such an important piece of people's lives. It's their home. So of course you want to feel like that story that's reflecting you is a soulful story and isn't just simply a pretty picture of a logo, because that's very surface level. And we all know that there's very intelligent and smart purchasers, buyers, leasers in the market right now, and they can kind of see straight through those surface level brands. And they really are looking for those strong stories that, again, reflect who they are as a person.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally right. And I always use the analogy that whenever you go on a trip and you travel to somewhere new, there's usually one or two spots that end up being like the place that you loved to go to. And more often than not, it's because the experience was a wonderful experience. The ambiance was great. The design was nice. The smells were there. Really kind of hammers home your point, which leads me to the parallels between hospitality and multifamily from a brand perspective. What do you think about that?
So that's an interesting question. Once again, I started my career as a creative out very much so in that hospitality space. And when I would work with these really great hoteliers, they would often look at luxury residential spaces for their inspiration. So I think it's only fitting that luxury properties are almost doing the same, and now they're looking at luxury hospitality spaces for their inspiration. And there's a really interesting Venn diagram that you can draw in between the two. And what it really comes down to is, how we find inspiration and how we respect kind of building in the creature comforts that everybody has, that they kind of need in order to call their space home, prioritizing that sense of individuality. And, finding those really inspiring creative touch points that again activate the brand in those spaces to create that holistic story so it does not just feel like a surface level brand. And I think, residential living and then luxury hospitality, they're so similar because in the end, what they're trying to do, I feel like we're going to keep nailing on this point over and over again, but what they're trying to do is to support this aspirational lifestyle. That really is the end game for both segments of, kind of this luxury industry is we're creating a story for people to, really latch onto, to have a strong sense of identity for themselves. And that is why I have always loved branding inside of like this industry space, is because it's so special. It's so literally close to home. It is your home. Right.
No, it is. It is your home. And it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest investment that residents make month over month and year over year. So it's incredibly important. As we start to wrap up here, we're already almost 15 minutes in, if you can believe it. We had a discussion before this about how quickly these things move, but let's talk about some advice for developers or owners who are maybe on the fence about engaging with a brand agency. Maybe I have so many conversations on the business development side, pulling in new relationships and trying to foster those, and the story is often very similar in that they want to do better, they know they can do better, and they have this idea of where they want to be. What do you think they should consider? why should they invest in brand, and kind of anything else that you can sort of impart to those who may be listening?
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to authenticity really sells. There are thousands of luxury properties out there that residents are looking for, but what they are really looking for is a lifestyle. And I think there's a lot to be said about the level of investment and kind of desire to reflect and kind of write that lifestyle for residents. And it's respectful, when you want to put in, the investment in the person rather than just the property. And that is really what people want. In the end, people want to feel respected in who they are. They want a really strong sense of individuality, and they want to feel like they can comfortably belong within a space. And so when you invest in a brand that really, in the end, points back towards the lifestyle and kind of the motivations and desires of that individual, that is the greatest way to show that you respect your resident versus just flippantly kind of investing in a brand that doesn't have any soul or, layers to it. It kind of shows that you don't really care much about their lifestyle, and all you really care about is just leasing up your property. And we all know that that's not necessarily why we got in this business. We care about people. We want to show people that we respect them and that, they deserve to have that space and they deserve to have that sense of belonging. And I think that would be like the biggest point that I could offer to developers is it comes down to a sense of respect, and we all want to offer each other respect.
There is going to be I guess we could call it an educational article with a lot of this research on the Transforming Cities website. So once this goes live, feel free to go over to Transforming Cities and check that out too. Let's do a little bit of a rapid fire final question. What's your favorite brand experience or experiential item that you have created for a project in the last, call it just year to date? What comes to mind as like the coolest thing you've done?
I think, and this was something that I worked on closely with our brand designer, Kendra. We worked on creating these custom whiskey rocks glasses for one of our clients. Part of the brand, it was so important that, outdoor lifestyle was such a big part of these individual lives. Not only that, but kind of like this crafted artisan lifestyle. And so we wanted to bring those two pieces together. And so we developed custom packaging for rocks glasses or whiskey rocks glasses that also had a mountain range kind of at the bottom of the glass. And it was so special, and I wish that I could have one.
Yeah, those were super cool. Definitely a one-of-a-kind item, without question. Well, man, Melody, you made it through. You were 10 gold stars, A+. We'll have to have you back on Real Wins. Thank you so much for joining, and excited to get the research live and to share that with the developers and owners listening as well. So yeah, great job. Thank you so much, Melody. Welcome back anytime.
Yeah, awesome. Love to talk to you again soon.